So let's get started. First, we'll go over how this training will go. First, I'll discuss what mobile messaging actually is. Then we'll jump into the different numbers you can get, short codes versus toll frees. I'll show you how you can use text to take action. I'll walk through creating a mobile message. And at the end, I'll leave time for any lingering questions that folks have. And just like all our other trainings, just so there's not as much background noise, I'm going to ask that folks stay muted. And if you have any questions, please drop those in the chat and I'll be answering those as we go along. So what is mobile messaging? Action Network built our mobile messaging tool to help organizations of all sizes have access to a broadcast mobile tool with integrated targeting at an affordable price. So a broadcast tool means you are one individual sending a message out to a bunch of people. This is not peer-to-peer, so you aren't able to have one-on-one conversations with folks. But the goal around this is that ideally you don't have to be a huge organization to have a robust mobile program anymore. And mobile messaging has, like I mentioned, integrated dual targeting. This means you can easily target emails and mobile messages. All of the data is brought into one place, and we just pull whatever we need when you're targeting a particular, using a particular channel like email versus mobile. And this presents a bunch of new opportunities for testing. So you can see if an email or mobile message works best for a certain campaign. And we wanted to have this all in one since we don't see a point in creating a totally separate tool for email and mobile messaging. Ideally, your programs are working together and building up on one another. So Action Network, we partner with Twilio to bring this tool to you. And you'll have Action Network manages all of the accounts, so you don't have to worry about anything. And we will request some information from you. We have a help article on that. You can reach out to support for more on what that application process looks like. But there are two different numbers that you can get. First, we have short codes. And short codes are the classic number that you are used to. These have all the short little 5 or 6 digit numbers. They can send an unlimited number of messages a day, but these are very expensive. They start at around $1,000 a month. And so the cost of that really adds up. You can add local numbers for call campaigns, and these do take about 3 to 6 months to apply for and receive access. That's really great if you expect to send more than about 500,000 messages a day. Most organizations, and by most, I mean almost all, should go with the toll-free number. You can still send unlimited messages a day. And these are the 10-digit toll-free numbers, and they start at only about 43 cents a month. You'll be able to still add local numbers for call campaigns, and these only take 2 to 3 weeks to set up, typically closer to 1 week. And for both of these, you do have the option to share them with other groups. And that is useful if you are one specific organization, but you need to create different groups, or maybe if you're in a network and you want to share the number between other groups. So there are some options there as you set up your organization and toll-free number. So when writing a mobile message, you have two options when sending. You have an MMS or an SMS. SMS is text only. MMS will include photos or GIFs. Both are options for any group with a toll-free number, but on a short code, not all groups have MMS enabled. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, some things to be aware of, and I'll walk through this again when we're actually writing our message. Clips are identical between the email and mobile list. So last week, if you joined me and you saw how we wrote an email and we personalized it, you can do all those same personalizations with a mobile message. And you have a 160 character limit until it splits. I'm going to leave that there. We'll circle back to it when we actually get into writing our message. But there are some quirks to character limits that just exist across the industry based on how SMS was built. So you'll want to think about that. And then, of course, you can do some A/B testing, and the targeting is identical to what we've previously seen. Now, let's go into actually writing our message, and we'll get into these defaults later on. To start off with, I want to create a form where I can do text to take action. So let's create a new sign up form for my group. And for today, since I just want to show you the text to take action feature, I'm going to be breezing through the action creation. So if you want a more in-depth look at creating actions, join us for our 102 training. So let's add our action here. We'll add a quick description and we'll add a heading. And in the form, if you are going to grow your mobile program, you should use the mobile number field that says core phone. That's the one I'm dragging out here. And you should always collect opt-ins. Action Network is an opt-in only platform, and that is not required by law on the email side. It is legally required on the mobile side. You cannot legally message people who have not opted in to receive messages from you. So be sure you're always collecting opt-ins on all forms where you collect that mobile number so that you can text those folks later on. We'll move on to the next step, save and publish. And now my form is live. Here is where I can do text to take action. I can edit the keyword, and I can add any keyword I like here. It is not key sensitive. The important thing is that it must be unique to this action. So I believe last month, yeah, we probably created this action. So this keyword is already being used on another action. If it is being used, we will link to it right here, and you can remove it from the old action and add it to the new one. And coming back here, we're all set. You can also add multiple numbers to, or multiple keywords to this section right here. This will apply to forms, like I've just showed you here, petitions, so you can collect signatures, and events, so people can RSVP via mobile message. And now that we have this created here, let's actually send a message out for folks. We'll go to that people menu, go to mobile messages. At the top, we have an administrative title. These apply to things like reports, actions, emails. They apply to everything. They're basically just an internal name for something that you and other admins can use to quickly search and find something. So for today, we're going to be sending out a link to my organization's email right here, or my organization's fundraiser right here. So I'm going to copy this link, and let's go ahead and write our message. And let's say, hi, and we'll use a clip. Like I mentioned just now, these clips are identical to what we saw with email. So you can insert someone's first name, the address you have on file for them, the highest previous contribution, and we will spit out whatever we have on file with in the actual message. So one thing I do want to note, let me just delete this clip, is the character count. And you'll notice that the character count goes down pretty dramatically when you use the clip. And then if we add our donation link, oh, I copied the wrong thing. There we are. If we add our donation link, you'll see the number of characters goes down even further. Now, when you actually hit send and use clips in a message, the final character count is going to be different from person to person because everyone has different information. A name like Bob only has 3 letters, whereas a name like Bartholomew has 10 letters, who knows? And it's going to take up more characters. That's important because you only have 160 characters until a message splits. Now, what splitting means is only important to you. For your recipients, it looks like one message. They don't know that the message split at all. It's important for you to know because you will get charged for 2 messages when the message splits. And so you want to minimize how much it splits as much as possible. And for something like that, I would recommend when you're adding that unsubscribe language that is required, you keep it as small as possible. So stop to quit is simple. It is very few characters, and it will get you keep you in compliance with legal rules around unsubscribes and broadcast messages. Another thing to keep in mind are the links that you're sharing out. Now, Action Network will automatically shorten links for Action Network forums, Action Network actions, and you'll be able to use these. And this should, once it's actually sent out, only take up about 10 to 20 characters. So the URL will be shortened. However, we do offer a feature called short links. And this allows you to shorten URLs that are not on Action Network. And you may want to use this as an alternative to Bitly's or Tiny URLs, since as time is going on, there is going to be spam filtering implemented on mobile devices as well. And so a lot of the same rules you see with email will begin to apply to mobile messaging. And one of those really big rules with email is to avoid link shortening, so tiny URLs, Bitly's, things like that at all costs. And so you can use a short link here instead. And so you can have a long URL and then define a permalink that you should use. And this is what we would use in the message instead. So it takes up fewer characters. And looks like I forgot to add my administrative title there. And one thing I want to highlight at the top here, I didn't do this today, but if I wanted to, I can send a text message with an image. And for that, I would select MMS and I can toggle between those two up here. Now, one more note on this character count that has to do with emojis. Anytime you add an emoji, this reduces the amount of characters you have before a message splits. A standard message with no emoji has 160 characters. A message with any emoji has 67 characters. And so that's something you want to keep in mind if you're going to be using emojis in messages. And I always get this question, should I use emojis in my messages? Honestly, it depends. There are some groups that really like it and really respond well, and others which don't. You are going to have to do testing with your own group to see what your group likes. And don't think just because you have a young group, everyone's going to love emojis. Some young people actually may find it patronizing to get a political text that is full of emojis and that is very fun. You know, people want to be taken seriously. And then in other cases, you'd be surprised how many older people love emojis. And so it really is just requires a lot of testing on your part. Do not go into this with any assumptions about what certain age demographics like what. You really want to do testing to see if people like those emojis, if people like certain types of language in the text that you're sending out. And to do that type of testing, you can add an alternate body right here. This is how you would do A/B testing for mobile. You can add an alternate body title. We can add different language here, add different clips if we'd like to. Maybe this one has an emoji and the other one doesn't. Where's this, the happy face? There it is. So you'll be able to test which ones actually work best to get people to take the action you want them to take. Down here, you can save and send yourself a test. You'll receive this to your mobile device, and I highly encourage you doing this before you actually send this out. You want to make sure that this looks good on a phone, that the images load properly, that there's nothing funky going on before it actually goes out. So let's go ahead and target this message. Oh. Make sure you add an alternate body title here. And the targeting for this is identical to what we saw in the 101 training for reporting and the 103 training last week for email. All of the reporting is the exact same. And this is what I mean when I say we have integrated dual targeting. All of the data is stored in one place, and you can easily target whatever you're doing to all the same fields. So I'm not going to run through all of these fields because we go through them in a lot more depth on the last training. But I do just want to highlight that I can send a text message to my email audience and vice versa. So I can follow up the support Day of Democracy email that I sent last week with a text message today. So I'm going to do that here right now. But I also want to highlight that you can target past mobile messages or mobile message clickers as well. Below this, you can add a random limit. So let's just add a random limit of 2, and we'll be able to save, preview, and send. My clips are working here. And I can automate A/B testing. Just like last week that I showed with email, you'll be able to choose a key statistic. So let's choose my donation rate over the last 3 hours. Because this is an automated A/B test, whichever message produced the higher donation rate, that will be chosen as the winner, and it will automatically be sent to everyone else out on my list. Now, occasionally, you will just write a crappy message. It'll be bad. No one will want to respond to it. And if that happens, you don't want that to go out to anyone else, in which case you want to set a circuit breaker. So let's say I am not, let's say I'm actually getting a ton of unsubscribes. And over 1% of recipients are unsubscribing, which is a pretty high unsubscribe rate. I can make sure that this message goes out to no one else on my list. So there would be no winner, even if there was one message that had a higher donation rate. If it's not high enough, or this message is just triggering a lot of unsubscribes, I can stop this before it actually goes out. Now, this is going to go out to no people on my list. That's totally fine for today. You can schedule this for any point in the future, or just send it out right away. So let's go ahead and do that. And when you send this, you're taken to a mobile message manage page where you can see key stats on clicks, unsubscribes, and action rates. And in the test results tab, just like with email, you'll be able to compare stats between the 2 different messages you sent, see which one performed better, and then send that out. Before I continue on, did folks have any questions about creating messages, getting set up, the application process? The next thing I'm going to go into is how you can handle replies. And I'm actually going to just take a second right now to reply to one of the texts I've received, and I can show you what that looks like. All right. So if there aren't any other questions, we'll just keep going. Again, if you have any questions, drop those into chat, and I'll answer those for you. So next, let's take a look at how we can handle our replies. And I'm actually going to change my group here just for a second. And let's look at that group. Now, to Amy, to your question in the chat, what is the character limit when using photos in MMS? It is still 160 characters. And MMS essentially allows for more. So it will be 160 characters still, but there is a higher cost to sending SMS than there is just SMS. Oh, my apologies. All the little words are starting to jumble. When you send a text with a photo, that will cost more than when you send a text with only words. So that's something to keep in mind. Yes, you can have more words in the text with an image, but that will cost you more. So it's a trade-off there. And next, here I am. Just looking at my inbox. And to get here, I went to that people menu and selected mobile messages inbox. And you'll notice here I have this, all my conversations. And this is where anyone who replies will come. Importantly, you will not be notified when someone replies, so you do have to proactively check this page every now and then. At the top, I want to highlight this queue. This is super useful if you sent a big text message out to a ton of people and you need to be able to quickly view, quickly flag, reply, mark as read, whatever necessary to all these replies. You'll be able to work with a bunch of people on your team at once. And it will essentially just be a page where you go one at a time and handle each message one by one. On the sidebar, you'll see all those conversations. And I just sent that text message right now that I will sign this thank you. And any unread text will have that blue flag there, or that blue little vertical bar. And then this flag is something that I have added. and I can add that or remove it whenever. And you'll be able to filter this by these views by all messages, unread, or flagged messages. You can also search conversations from here, and you'll also be able to apply certain filters. So let's say someone had a conversation with you based off of a certain keyword. You'll be able to filter those here, and you'll also be able to filter by past messages that have been sent out. Now let's go ahead and actually open this conversation with this activist. So you can see that they have, we sent out a link asking folks to sign our petition. And this is another automated message from a ladder, and I'll show you how you can do that after this. And then this activist replied that they'll sign this. Thank you. Further down here, this is where you can add another reply. And whatever you reply here gets sent as a text message out to this activist. You will get charged when people reply to you and when you have a conversation here. Below this, you can save templated responses. And so you can manage your saved responses, add new ones, and this is just very helpful if you're going to be saying the same thing to people. So this thank you message, I use a lot, so I can just click send and it goes there. Now on the side, you'll have a quick view at this activist's information. So you can see their email, phone number, address, and a link to their activist record. From the sidebar, you'll also be able to manually subscribe or unsubscribe people from the email and mobile lists. And the subscription statuses are totally separate. So if I don't like getting text from you, I can unsubscribe from your mobile list, but remain subscribed to the email list or vice versa. And this is particularly useful because every now and then people are going to misspell words like unsubscribe or stop, and you'll have to manually unsubscribe them. But generally, we handle those automatically. So there's nothing special you need to do when people reply stop. And in fact, if they reply stop, you are not going to see those replies here. They'll just be unsubscribed. And finally, on the sidebar, we have this tag section. And here you can manually edit the tag. So let's say this person said they wanted to volunteer. I can go ahead and add that tag right there. So that's how you can handle replies manually. Let's go over how we can handle replies automatically, because this can be kind of cumbersome to deal with. So let's go to the people menu and select ladders. And for today, I'm actually going to be creating a ladder for that sign up form that we created earlier. So let's create a new one there. And before I continue on, I do want to highlight some templates for ladders we have. We have welcome series, as well as mobile and email follow-ups. And this template is really great if someone takes an action and you want to follow up with both an email and a mobile message. You could do a mobile survey. And so you can do a survey of your activists, collect information, store their responses, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you can just collect information more generally. So let's go ahead and build this ladder from scratch. And we'll add a name for this. And this will just be the new mobile message signups. So let's add a rung. And these rungs trigger people in. So you'll notice we have triggers for emails, so they receive, open, or click on an email, and the same thing for mobile message. And then we have a variety of actions. So did I add a tag? Did they take any of my actions? Have they signed any action of a specific type? And this means, did they RSVP to any event, or did they sign any petition? And then we have took a specific action. This means, did they sign this petition on raising the minimum wage? Did they RSVP to this event for a town hall? Specific things. And for today, we're going to do subscribe to mobile list, but you can also do specific action. So I can do, for example, that sign up form that we just collected. And for today, we'll just do subscribe to mobile list. So after people subscribe to my mobile list, when people text in their signature to that action I created, what are the odds that I have any other data on them? Probably pretty low. So I need to check if I have things like first name, last name, or first name, zip code, and email address. So let's check for their first name. So here I'm going to build a query. Queries on Action Network are a way for you to do very complex targeting. You can actually target reports, messages, emails by queries. And so what are we doing here? Um, I'm checking to see if I have a first name on file. So we'll scroll down and we'll choose field values. And we'll choose the first name field. And then I'm going to use the percent symbol. This percent symbol means, is there anything in this field at all? And so once I have that there, you'll notice these two paths. Now, do we have a first name? Yes and no. If I do have a first name, let's just move them on to the next question. Do you have a zip code? And just like before, we'll add that percent symbol. So if anyone has anything in that zip code field, um, they go through. And just like before, we see those yes and no's. Let's say I do have a zip code. Let's do a final decision step for email. And we'll just put, we have a variety of email suggestions you can do, but you can't just do that percentage. Keep forgetting that. And once this is done, um, so we have the three questions we're collecting. Let's go through how this ladder works right now. Someone subscribes to my list. I check to see if I have a first name. If I do, I next check to see if I have a zip code. If I do, I check to see if they have an email address. And if I still do have that, then I'm going to add an action. And this is just going to be a thank you message. So let's send a mobile message. And we're all set there. So we will save this. And now let's go through and begin filling this out. What if someone does not have a first name? Obviously, I want to ask for it. So we're going to add something here, asking for their first name. And make clear that people should reply. Oh, my apologies. And as always, you should add that stop to quit message on any message that is going out. So now I'm asking for their first name. After I ask them for their first name, I want to wait for a certain amount of time. But I also want to wait for a reply. So I'm going to use that wait for reply step, this orange step you see here. And I'm going to wait for a mobile response in store. Now you can decide how long people have. And so I can let people wait for an hour. And whatever they respond with, I can choose the field that is going to store this data. And you can use store data in custom fields as well. So I'm going to store this data in the first name field. And they can send anything they want here. But I do want to also add that you can add valid responses. So this is really great if you're asking people like a yes or no question and you want people to respond. So maybe people can respond with yes or Y or no and N. And if they respond with if they respond to a yes or no question with maybe, you can say This is not a valid response. Please only respond Y or N, for example. And this will allow you to kind of move them back up, and they'll go through this again. And ideally, they will be giving the correct response. So let me just go ahead and build that again for this step here. We're waiting for 1 hour, and our responses are going to be stored in the first name field. Once we're done, we'll click save. Now, let's say someone does respond to me. If they do respond to me, that's awesome. I'm going to do essentially what I just did in these lower steps. Now I have a first name. Let's see if I have a zip code. And I can actually copy steps that I may be using very often. So for example, zip code, email address, thank you. I can copy these and paste them here. And now I have all the same flow, just under a separate step, and I don't need to build anything out. So again, just to go over what I've just built, people subscribe. I check to see if I have a first name. If I do not have a first name, I send a text asking for it. I wait for a response, and I store that in the first name field. And I copy and pasted these lower steps. So the next thing we do, check if I have a zip code. If I don't have a zip code, let's ask for it. And the reason I'm asking for zip code is because zip code will allow you to geocode someone's county and state. And so it allows you to send more relevant information to them if you have it. We're going to save this. And then I'm going to add one more decision step. And just like before, I'm just going to copy this email one to see if I have an email. And I'm going to paste it here. And I actually did forget to do the wait and reply step. So let's add that. Wait for an hour, store responses in the zip code field. And you can add validation rules here using regex or regular expressions. So that's something that folks should know. And actually, let me actually remove this. And so now I check to see if we have their zip code. And lastly, check to see if they have email. And just like before, if I do not have the email, we're going to ask for it. And the purpose of a ladder like this is to collect additional information that you will not already have. And ideally, this is information that's going to be useful for you in the future. So with their first name, with their zip code, with their email address, I can reach out to them via email. I can send content that is relevant to their state. I can use clips to personalize messages a little bit more. And so all of this allows you to build your program both on the email side and the mobile side. So I'm going to ask people to reply with the email address. I'll wait for my reply and store my response in the email field. Now, email fields already have validation built in. So if someone has an email address, we'll check to see if it's valid. And if it is, we will subscribe them. Now, coming back up here, you'll notice that there are two little paths here. There's a little check and then that crossed out. That check means somebody replied within an hour. And so if somebody replies, they go through all these steps, which looks great to me. And in these other steps, you're still going to want to copy some of what I've built out here. So for example, here I check to see if we have a zip code, and then I have this thank you message. I probably want to copy this thank you message to the end of all these people who didn't reply, and at the end of the ladder, just more generally to make sure that everyone's going out. But now I have built a ladder that is designed to collect more information automatically from people. So when they sign up to join my group, I will send them through a funnel that will collect their first name, their zip code, and their email address. And again, the purpose of this is to set myself up well to follow up with them later on, either via email or via mobile message, but I will be able to know their name and where they live, which is very useful information for sending relevant content. Now, the last thing we're going to go over today is how you can manage mobile message defaults. And I touched on this a little bit, but your defaults can be edited in the settings tab. You'll be able to view your toll-free number or short code, and you'll also be able to set up automated responses for keywords like help and stop. These are legally required, so you do need to set those up. And you'll also be able to add a template to include opt-out texts. And again, that is required. You can also do something called carrier lookup. This is a feature that has an additional cost, but this basically allows you to see what carrier each number is linked to. This is particularly useful if you think you're having issues with a particular carrier, or if certain carriers just have higher fees and it's not worth it to you to check certain carriers. This can be very helpful. There's a whole host of fees associated with SMS that come from carriers. And so this is a great way to see what carriers people are on. And just to show you what this tab looks like in your actual settings, you go to that settings tab in the group manage page, and then go to mobile settings. And from here, you'll see your mobile number. You can add additional opt-in text. And this opt-in text is going to appear above the submit button whenever you have the mobile message opt-in enabled. This is very necessary if you're on a short code because they require that you have a terms of service or terms of conditions, as well as a privacy policy linked directly on the form. For toll-free numbers, it's not as necessary. So we have that there. You can also set up your automated replies. So when people reply help, we do have a default language that you can use there. And when people reply with unsubscribe or stop, you can manage that. Again, anytime people reply unsubscribe or stop, they're automatically unsubscribed from the group. And then down here, you can add a mobile message template that is used every time you send a message out. Here is where I recommend putting that unsubscribe language, so stop to quit. I'd recommend adding that right there. So that brings you to the end of today's training. You will get a recording of this tomorrow in your inbox. And just to look at one of the questions that someone dropped in the chat, if you want people who opt in via mobile message to be an Action Network, do you have to set them up with a profile, or that automatically happen when you collect the info? An activist record will automatically be created whenever someone is added to the group. And this applies either if they submitted online via email or via mobile message. And so, yes, we will, their records will automatically be created. And on Action Network, we will actually check to see if there's an existing record and try to match up data as much as possible so that the email and mobile records are like locked in place as you need them. So, like I said, this is the end of today's training. I hope that folks found that useful. You can reach out to support@actionnetwork.org if you are interested in learning more, or if you have any other questions. I'll be on for a couple more minutes to answer any lingering questions that folks have. But otherwise, folks are free to hop off the call. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And Marco, to your question, Action Network does not do peer-to-peer. You can manage individual conversations through the mobile message inbox. However, this is not really designed as a peer-to-peer texting service. You're not going to be able to send one message out to one individual through this. It's a broadcast service, so it's one to many versus peer-to-peer, which is one to one. You're welcome. If there aren't any other questions, I'll be ending this training now. Again, reach out to support@actionnetwork.org if you think of anything else that you didn't get a chance to ask here. I hope everyone has a really great rest of your day. See ya.